In the following tutorial, we're going to take a look at motion tweens with bones and inverse kinematics. Now, this is just a quick sample of this, and you may have noticed in the previous tutorial that I was actually going to do text, but I think this will be more exciting. Anyway, it begins by us creating a very simple rectangle like we've created with other ones. So I'm going to create a very small rectangle this time. The reason why is because I'm going to be using multiple copies of this. Now, in order to use the bone correctly, we really should convert this to some sort of symbol. So I'm going to right click and choose Convert to Symbol, and this will be my bones BG background. Now I'm going to duplicate this symbol holding down the Shift key and the Alt key together just to give myself a few different copies of it. And you may notice that they're evenly spaced or not. To evenly space them, it's really easy. Just select them. Let's make sure that we have them all aligned, and then space them evenly vertically by clicking on that button. And you'll see that they might arrange themselves so that the spacing is better. Now we want to convert this to a movie clip, because that's where we're going to be doing the animation by choosing, selecting them all, right-clicking and choosing Convert to Symbol, and this will be the bones anim. Now let's double-click to go inside the bones anim timeline, as it indicates above, and we're going to create a new tween for this. Now, in order to create a tween, we actually have to add a bone first. So we're not going to be right-clicking and choosing Create Motion Tween. We're actually going to click on the Bones tool over on the right-hand side, and we're going to click and drag from each center point of one object to the next center point. And you should see it should do a pretty good job of snapping each time. Now that we have our bones made, I can click back on the Selection tool, just so I know I'm there. I'm going to right-click, and you'll notice, oops, I want to right-click on the frame here, and you'll see that we have a few different options here. Remove armature, convert to frame-by-frame animation, and some of the other ones. In order to insert a pose, we actually have to go later in our timeline, such as frame 30, right-click, and choose Insert Pose. Now we can go back to the object and move our object so that we create the new pose. You can see our bones are fairly easy to move around. Now you'll see that that animation happens over the entire 30 frames. Well, let's go back to frame 10 and move the animation to the right-hand side. And you'll see it automatically inserts the pose for us. So it swings up and then swings over. And we can adjust this a little bit if it seems like it's moving too much. Now, fine-tuning this is one of those things that will take a lot of work, and we'll be talking about that later on this semester. It still is a pretty powerful tool and can enable you to do all sorts of crazy animation things that you weren't able to do before. So go ahead and play around with that over your 30 frames. You'll notice that it made a new armature 3 layer, and it got rid of what was on layer 1. It's now a blank keyframe, and you can delete that keyframe just because we don't really need it anymore, and you're just going to keep the armature here. So that's pretty much what the Bones tool does. We can go back to scene 1, and you'll see that, of course, we can't see those moving on the main timeline. We only see the animation on the main timeline move. Those things that are inside their own timelines will only animate when we test our movie. So we'll do Control, Test Movie, and you should see the other two animations moving. And let's go ahead and save our work and go on to the very last one, which is the Motion Tween with the Motion Editor.